I think a lot of people pour their heart and soul into their work to make somebody else's dreams come true. But how many of them actually spend time making their own dreams come true?
Moti, the airport guy. I have been waiting forever to get this guy onto the podcast.
The UK government taps me on the shoulder and they say, Mo, we see all the work that you're doing. We want you to be an aviation ambassador for the government. Really? And like, yeah.
Did
really?
they just make that roll up or something?
No, this is like a proper thing. Like,
value of time is very important, right? You know, how did you notice or realize that it's of value? Because so many people, they're just coasting through life. They don't know what they're doing and they're just wasting time scrolling away because they think Islam is all about violence.
You know, can I tell you a secret?
Go on.
My longer term mission right now is the airport guy stuff. One day I'm going to close that chapter.
Bro, my dad's been on my case for the last week. I need to send him money in Bangladesh.
So what's stopping you, bro?
Bro, it's long. The queues are endless. And have you seen where they're located? Red routes, nowhere to park. Nah, man.
Why don't you use what I use?
What do you use?
Basically, it's this app that I use. It's called Taptap Send. And bro, it's a game changer. I don't have to go to these money transfer shops. I don't have to wait in the queues and I don't have to get a parking fine. It's all on my phone. And I can use my card to send money back home instantly.
So what's the catch?
There is no catch. In fact, it's quite the opposite. No hidden fees, no transfer fees, and on top, if you use the KSR code, you get £20 credit.
Say no more. £20, yeah? I'm gonna download the app right now. My dad's gonna love me for this.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Problem solved. Now let's get inside. We've got a killer episode to record.
Assalamu alaikum viewers and listeners, welcome back to another episode of Side by Side. I'm your host Kazi, Shafiqur Rahman. Our guest today is none other than the one and only Moti, the airport guy. I have been waiting forever to get this guy onto the podcast, and alhamdulillah with your duas and support and your subscribe and all of that, we have managed to get him today on a Saturday morning. Amazing, alhamdulillah. Before we begin our episode today, I would like to once again remind you, please subscribe to our channel on the platform you are tuned into, and also share this episode around if you find any part of the episode useful and beneficial. I think it will be useful if you have children around you, if you have young people in your family and your network. Follow us on our social media, find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, and let's engage. Let's have a proper conversation. Now let's get straight into the show. All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Assalamu alaikum, brother Mo Taher,
Yes,
known as the airport guy.
that's right.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, bro. Very well. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. When did you have to wake up to get here? At the time of this recording, it's Saturday, 10 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, I woke up this morning at 6, but that's not necessarily to get here. But you know, I like to have early mornings.
Oh, so you're an early riser.
I try to be.
Really?
For sure.
Have you always been naturally like this?
Not necessarily, but over the years, I realized like the value of waking up in the morning, and I just tried to like shift my life in that direction. You know, like just.
How young are you?
I'm 28.
MashaAllah. So value of time is very important, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's one of the most
How
important.
did that value, how did you notice or realize that it's of value? Because so many people, they're just coasting through life. They don't know what they're doing and they're just wasting time scrolling away.
Scrolling is a problem. We all do it. But I think the moment where I really realized like my life, the time and the value of time is when I first started my first 9 to 5. So I'd go into work at 9, you'd finish at 5 p.m. And by that point, I realized like the corporate rat race is not for me. Like just being stuck in this loop and then getting a mortgage and kids and and then you're locked in, right? Because then you have to go to work because you have to pay the bills because something has to go out. When I realized that was a trap I wanted to avoid, that's when I realized, okay, every day you have your 9 to 5 and then you have your 5 to 9. And that's when I was like, okay, how am I going to make the most of my 5 to 9? And that's when I started to like build like my own sort of personal brand online and like on Instagram and on TikTok and stuff like that. And it's amazing how if you invest enough time into your 5 to 9, it can then become your 9 to 5 and your 5 to 9 and your 24/7. So that realization for me of not wanting to be stuck in a corporate rat race was what triggered my real analysis of like, how am I going to segment my day to make sure that I'm building a backup plan so that I'm not just locked into this.
So anyone can apply this formula, and they would, over time, they will compound into something quite significant.
I think they have to keep trying. Yeah, absolutely. I think anybody who's in a 9 to 5 who doesn't see themselves staying in a 9 to 5 for like forever should make a mental note that the moment it hits 5 p.m., what are you working on next? Like, that's not necessarily your time to relax. That's not your time to be like, oh, I'm done now, I'm chilling. That should be your time to go, okay, focus. Like, if I don't want to be stuck in this for the rest of my life, what am I doing from now until 9 p.m.? That's another 4 solid hours that I can do something that can get me out. And I think as long as you use that time, something can come out of it. There's a quote by a guy called Jim Rohn, motivational speaker. He says, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And I think a lot of people pour their heart and soul into their work to make somebody else's dreams come true. But how many of them actually spend time making their own dreams come true?
It's so interesting you say Jim Rohn, because I'm so much into Jim Rohn stuff as well.
Really?
Because back in 2007, that's when I discovered the whole self-development and motivational talks. And it was Jim Rohn that I started looking into. And yeah, it's like some of those nuggets that they say they put as quote, it's like it has so much meaning. One of them that really impacted me was it's not the blow of the wind, but it's the set of the sail that determines your destination outcome. So life will be pushing us in every directions, but we have to set the sail for us to go to a certain direction.
Interesting.
So it's profound, man. It had a major impact, shift in my thinking because of those quotes and because of those speakers. I wish they were Muslims, because they would have been like, they benefited thousands and thousands of people.
You know what's amazing about what you say there is that these philosophies and these insights and nuggets that they have are very, very insightful. And a lot of the times they speak them from a secular point of view. But when you start to look into Islam, you realize that our prophets and imams, like, they have hadiths that are smack bang what they're saying, but even deeper.
Yeah.
And there's ayahs in the Quran that take their little surface level quote and take it even deeper, like levels and levels and levels deeper. But I think you're right. It's about time, and then maybe we could touch upon this later on in the podcast. But I think it's about time that somebody shows the world Islam, but in the lens of personal development, but focuses on the personal development. But at the end of each video, it's like, oh, by the way, this is ayah in the Quran, because I think that's like the purest form of da'wah, when you can make someone realize that Islam is a prescription to make you a better human being.
Absolutely. I think what we do is that we go front loaded with Islam. Like, it's Islam that we're trying to talk about, but instead of like going that way, if we come back around the other way, deliver the value first and then say, oh, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about, for example, when I talk to like my white friends or wherever they're from, we talk about like the law of attraction, the power of attraction, the secret, manifestation, like speaking things into existence, and the power of gratitude and all of that, right? So if you're grateful, then the philosophy is that the law of attraction is, if you want more good things to come into your life, then you have to be grateful for what you already have. I'm like, cool. So I do that deep dive into why that works and how that works and the mechanics of, if you break it down, how that actually makes sense. Because if you're thinking about things you're grateful for, then your mindset will automatically be tuned to look for more things that you're grateful for. And all of a sudden you begin to see more things that you can be grateful for because your mindset has shifted. And then towards the end of the conversation, I always tell them, oh, by the way, there's an ayah in the Quran that says, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are grateful, I will give you more. And they go, huh, okay, like this is a philosophy in the Quran. I'm like, yeah. And whenever we pray and you go into ruku', and then we stand up from ruku', what do we say? سَمِعَ اللَّهُ لِمَنْ Hamida. Allah listens to those who thank Him. So what you realize there's a common theme in Islam about gratitude and being thankful and actually getting more of what you want and being able to ask Allah for what you want. But it always starts off with gratitude. And lots of white people understand that, but they think it's just the universe, right?
Yeah.
They don't realize
Lord
it's
of the universe.
Allah saying, I will listen to you if you're grateful. I will give you more if you're grateful. The source isn't just the universe. The source is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head, man, because we so need it. We so need it now more than ever, because people are into meditation. People are into, like, they want to feel peace. They want to feel that serenity. But they just don't know that Islam is what will offer that peace. Because they think Islam is all about violence and it's all about this. And I mean, most don't, some do. And I think we should do more efforts. We should make more purposeful, intentional efforts to really put positive messages out there. Because think about it, like, where is our Jim Rohn? Where is our Zig Ziglar? Where is our Les Brown? Now, talking from an Islamic point of view, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, Islamic messaging, but we could talk about life.
Yeah.
For example, the theme of this podcast could be a certain topic, but we could always bring it back to Islam. I mean, like we're doing now, we're talking about life, but somehow we're linking it back. So, alhamdulillah, that's amazing, man.
Alhamdulillah.
I didn't know you were into personal development and
Can I tell you a secret?
go on.
My longer term mission right now is the airport guy stuff. One day I'm going to close that chapter. The next chapter for me is what you just described. So
Inshallah, that would be amazing.
motivational speaking, personal development first, but the foundation is Islam.
MashaAllah, that's amazing. And I
Inshallah.
think that's what the world needs now.
Inshallah,
Those
if Allah
doses
can
of-
give me that tawfiq to like be that person and guide myself first and with that guidance be able to share, then
When
I'll
will
be
that
very
come?
grateful.
Like, how many more years to go?
You're saying it now, and like my friends always tell me, like, why are you waiting? Like, why don't you just start it now? And like you're saying, like the time is now more than ever. And maybe this just triggered something in my mind to think, yeah, like why am I waiting? I don't know.
Exactly. Maybe one video out of your maybe many videos could be one of those ones,
Yeah.
Inshallah.
I appreciate that. I
And
appreciate
you
the
understand
nudge.
content, and you've been doing content for a very long time. So
That's right.
I think if you understand content, you can apply it to pretty much any industries, any themes. Now, where did this whole the airport guy start? Was it intentional or was it random?
It was like I'll tell you the story. So I started making videos behind the scenes at Heathrow Airport. I'm an engineer. I'm an aerospace engineer by trade. Used to work at Lufthansa, then started working at Heathrow Airport. And when I was at Heathrow Airport, I was doing like deep random behind the scenes stuff that you usually never get to see. I'm saying taking you into the baggage
Did they
system.
ever try and stop you doing that?
I can talk about that in a
Okay.
second. Let me tell you where the airport guy bit came from, and then I'll touch upon that. So I started making these videos, teaching people behind the scenes. Now, one thing I made sure of is that when I started, I knew where the red lines were. Like I knew what I can't talk about and what I can talk about. And I always like made sure I was in the know. I wasn't just being irrational and putting videos up that could have caused a security breach. So I started putting these videos up, and then, one thing led to another. Like years and years and years went by, and I'm keep putting these videos out. Like 3-4 years goes by. 4 years on, the number of followers that I have on my channels grows until one day I overtake Heathrow Airport's official channels. And that's when I'm thinking to myself, damn, okay, this is crazy. Like, add up all the followers, I've got more followers than Heathrow Airport's channels. And I'm walking through a train station in central London one day, and as I step off the train, some guy, he looks up at me, and he's like, yo, you're the guy from the airport. You do the airport videos. You're the airport guy. And I think to myself, the airport guy.
That's it.
That's it, the airport guy. So I go home, and I was proper insecure at the time. So I didn't even write the airport guy. I wrote that airport guy. Because I was like, who am I to be the airport guy? So I wrote that airport guy. And then one of my friends, he's called Millimo. He owns an agency, like a creative content agency. He was like to me, he saw that airport guy. He screenshot it. He sent me a picture. He's like, no. you're not that airport guy. You're the airport guy. And I was like, bro, really? He's like, yeah, do it. Just take it. I was like, but I told him the story. He's like, bro, the guy called you the airport guy. Take it. I was like, safe. The airport guy. And like, I'm so glad he pushed me in that direction, because now when I look back, like, alhamdulillah, like in the aviation industry, I go to conferences around the whole world, and I'm talking like CEOs would like look at me and be like, the airport guy. And I'm like, yeah. Day before yesterday, this is a funny story. Day before yesterday, I was walking through a conference, and some guy stepped out of like a little bubble that he was in, and he stopped me. He's like, Muhammad Taher? I was like, yeah. He's like, pleasure to meet you. My name is, his name, and he's like, I'm the COO of Hamad International Airport in Qatar. Pleasure to meet you. I've been following you on Instagram for ages. And then I got to know him, and he became friends, and like, he's no lovely guy. Like, we went out for lunch, but like, you just never know who's watching. Never know who's watching. And like, that's why like the word the airport guy, like it's like a stamp. It's easy to remember. It's a stamp of approval. And alhamdulillah, it opens up doors.
So you exceeded Heathrow's channels. Then what?
Then,
So what were you called before that?
just most people knew me as Motivate. So
Okay.
my dream is to be a motivational speaker,
Okay.
as I just alluded to. And my nickname is Moti. MOT.
Okay.
So Motivate was
Okay.
my
Okay,
till this day it's
gotcha.
my handle.
So it's
Motivate.
running through. I mean it's running on in your theme like from time ago.
Yeah, like the motivation. Yeah,
Yes.
it's been there since day one. It's actually the original page I set up was called Motivate before it became Airports.
Ah,
It was just me sharing motivational quotes that I liked.
amazing.
Like Zig Ziglar, or Jim Rohn. Like I was just sharing screenshots of
That's
of their
amazing.
posts. But then I was like, okay, let me niche down. My auntie was like, look, you're doing all this airport stuff. You love the airport. Why don't you talk about the airport? So I was like, okay. So I started doing the airport stuff. 3 years later, the airport guy emerged. And now I'm kind of looking at how I can like really bring both of those things
Moti,
together.
the airport guy.
Yeah, Motivate. Yeah, Moti, the airport guy. So, yeah, that's kind of how it all emerged.
And then Heathrow, you exceeded Heathrow. Then what?
So when the followers exceeded at Heathrow, I actually spoke to the COO at the time of Heathrow Airport. I was like to her, look, like I'm doing all this content, it's working. Can I like join, like the social media team just to try it out? She was like, you know what? Yeah, it's a good idea. I'm going to make you like join the social media team. So she actually created a place for me to join the social media team for 6 months. And I joined the social media team for 6 months. And bro, I hated it. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I loved engineering. So I really enjoyed being out in the operation and being there and like always being in the operation. And then I joined the social media team, and they're just office based. And I was just like, I just felt like so
Suffocated.
yeah, like I really wanted to be out and about, and just, you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to have an excuse of filming something to be out and about. I just wanted to be in the operation. 6 months went by. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I went back into engineering straight away. By the time I had got back into engineering, the pages had kept growing, and at this point, more and more like amazing opportunities started coming my way. And I mean like mind-blowing stuff. So there came a day where I received the email from Virgin Atlantic saying, look, Mo, we have an exclusive flight from London to New York. On board that flight is going to be Richard Branson and a bunch of his team and a couple of other very senior people. We want you to come on that flight. We want you to make content about that flight. I'm like, all right, accept the offer, take the offer, book a day of annual leave to make it happen. On that flight, I didn't know this at the time, but on that flight, there was me, the CEO of Heathrow Airport, the COO of Heathrow Airport, the same woman who had invited me to join the social team, and the director of their sustainability strategy. So all of these people were like way, way, way more senior than me, like way more senior than me, like CEO, COO, Virgin, like we're talking CEO of Virgin Atlantic, Richard Branson, his chairman, every big shot you can imagine in the aviation industry, people from Boeing, people from Rolls-Royce, people from BP, the oil manufacturers, people from the airports and everywhere. And I'm sat on this flight for 7 hours straight. I'm sat 2 seats behind Richard Branson. And I go up to him, we start having a chat, talking to this guy, talking to his chairman. I didn't even know who he was, talking to his chairman for like 45 minutes. When I go back to my seat, they're like, do you know who that is? I'm like, guy's called Paul, I don't know. They're like, that's the chairman of Virgin, not even Virgin Atlantic, that's Virgin Group. Globally, that's the chairman. And I was just literally having a 45-minute chat with him. All these things start to pop off. I got a book deal to write a kid's book about airports, which is coming out soon, inshallah. I got signed a deal with Emirates Group to make content like Donata, the behind the scenes of the Donata operation. Bro, stuff started to pop off. And all of this, I'm still juggling a full-time, heavy engineering job. And I'm managing it both. And then it gets to a point where the government, the UK government, taps me on the shoulder. And they say, Mo, we see all the work that you're doing. We want you to be an aviation ambassador for the government. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah.
Did they just make that roll up or something?
No, this is like a proper thing. Like they have aviation ambassadors for the government.
Okay.
Every 2 years, they choose like 5 people
Okay.
across the whole nation. And you apply, and then they choose you. There was five or I think maybe just over 5 people. And they were like, we want you to be an aviation ambassador for the government. I'm like, okay, cool. How does that work? 3 hours a month, voluntary on the side. I was like, cool, easy enough. I write an email to my directors and my bosses, and I'm like, by the way, the government wants me to be an aviation ambassador. So on Monday, in about 2 weeks' time, on Monday, I have to go and sign a contract under witness to accept this. And I have to be there on this Monday. So time goes by. I speak to my boss about it, and he was like, yeah, it should be fine. But let's just check with the higher ups. Yeah. Time ticks. Friday at 2 p.m. before the Monday. Yeah, so it's just the weekend. Friday at 2 p.m. I receive an email saying, we will not be in support of you becoming an aviation ambassador.
Why?
Okay, so why? Do you want me to take annual leave to go, or are you going to be in support of it? Which way is this going to go? So I type out that email. My boss is sat next to me at this point. Send it off. And this is me saying, do you want me to take annual leave or what? And this was to his boss. I wait. And then I'm sat next to him and we see ping. The email comes back. Click on it. And it opens up. And then he's reading it and I'm reading it. And it says, in case the first email wasn't clear enough, we will not be in support of you being aviation ambassador. Basically, in a nutshell, concentrate on your day job. Stop doing all these stuff on the side. Focus on your job. And I read that. And within 24 hours, I had resigned effective immediately. And I walked in on Monday and I signed the contract to be an aviation ambassador.
Wow.
Just like that.
So the safety net is gone within minutes.
Within 24 hours. I had decided. I slept on it. I woke up and I was certain for my decision. I spoke to my lawyer the night before. I was like, look, this is what I want to do. She was like, okay, but just sleep on it. See how you feel in the morning. I woke up the next morning and I felt so certain that this was the right thing to do. Because at that point, I felt like a butterfly that had stepped out of its cocoon. I was hanging onto the edge of the cocoon and I wasn't sure if I could fly yet, but I knew I had wings. And I was being told to
crush it all
and shove myself back into the cocoon. And I just thought, I ain't doing that. So I let go.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
The rest is history.
It always ends up like this, doesn't it? Someone somewhere down the line, they become, I guess, insecure or they become afraid of what someone is doing. There's a book called 48 Laws of Power, and the number one law is never outshine the master. And this book is amazing. Honestly, okay, some of the laws are not really Islamic. In fact, they're anti-Islamic, but they're there because they want you to be aware that other people, you may not be applying those rules, but others will be. So you need to be alert, and you need to know that this is what people are going to do. But yeah, never outshine the master. And I think what's happened was you've effectively, inadvertently, outshined the masters, and they weren't happy about it. Because it's the UK government. Come on, Heathrow Airport. I mean, you fall within the government's remits, so you should be in support in reality. But I guess I don't know what happened. But anyway,
do you know that? I'll tell you one little thing to add to that as well. I wasn't the only one in Heathrow who got this position. There was one other guy called Mike in another department who also got this position. On the Monday where I had quit my job and I walked in and I signed the contract, Mike, who was also in that room who signed the contract, they had put him on the internal hub celebrating him, saying, look at our amazing Mike, he's an aviation ambassador.
Wow.
That says enough, huh?
You know, like this thing, like, you know, I always get fascinated by, like, you know, how the nuances work, you know, in a corporate environment. And you know, you can be up there but not too up there, like stay within the limits.
Yeah.
And once you, like, come on, like, bro, like, you know, if I was your boss, I would probably feel a bit insecure. Like, this guy's spending time with Branson and all these big shows. Like, yo, like, it tells me something. Like, okay,
crazy.
you know what? But I would probably recognize it. You know what? It's time to go now. Like,
Yeah. And look, if they had told me that, I would have taken it. But it was just the, and you know, alhamdulillah, bro.
Sly
I'm
nature of
so grateful that they put me into that position, because it made me realize, like, okay, I've got to do it and I've got to make this work. And the director of engineering at the time used to always tell me, he used to be one of my mentors. And he used to say, Mo, we're only borrowing you. Like, Heathrow Airport is only borrowing you. You're going to go and you're going to do some cool stuff. Heathrow Airport for you is, we're just borrowing you for the time we have you. We'll make the use of everything that you have, but we're just borrowing you. You're going to go.
Yeah. He
And-
recognized it well in advance that it's inevitable, it's coming.
Yes, pretty much. And I think maybe that was a decision overall as a company to say, I guess if we tell him no, he'll probably leave. So let's
Yeah.
just dig up. I don't know. I have no idea. Like,
It's amazing. Look.
but alhamdulillah, I'm grateful.
Those are blessings, you know.
Very,
like, you
very
know,
much so.
Like, personally, I used to work in airport as well. Not
Yeah.
as an engineer, but as an aircraft cleaner.
Yeah.
And I used to have like good fun with my bosses and managers, and we used to have fiery conversations. And that was at my peak of motivational and, you know, breaking out of this whole job mentality, going into entrepreneurship. I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to make lots of money. I used to talk to my manager about money. Money matters. Hey guys, I hope you have been enjoying our today's conversation with Brother Mohammed Taher, also known as the famous Moti, the airport guy, who talks all things airports and aviation. If you have been enjoying today's conversation and have found anything useful, please do subscribe to our channel on the platform you are tuned into, and comment below with any questions or guest recommendations that you have that you would like us to speak to. This episode has been sponsored by Taptap Send. Let's get straight back into the show. And he used to he used to make fun of me. He used to, like, we used to have, like, in the canteen, and he would say jokes and he would attack me, and then I would attack back at him, and
Standard
like
banter.
funny jokes.
Yeah.
And eventually I lost my job because the 2008
Crisis.
recession happened, and all the airlines cut back on the flights into City Airport. And at that time I was a catering guy.
Okay.
I used to drive those trucks and
Nice.
deliver the food, and that's how I ended up becoming quite fat.
What, all the leftovers?
Bro, like French croissants, the jams, the cheese
Just
sandwich.
scooping them up, huh?
Oh, mate. We used to have, you know, in the truck, behind the truck, all the Bengalis and Pakistanis and the Africans. We would gather up, like, you know, in our break time in the airport, and mate,
Just everyone have a
munch
feast.
away. Coffee, croissant, like, we used to eat all day.
That's jokes. No, it's called quality testing. You know what I mean? You're checking
Exactly. Oh my god. And then I lost my job because the airline stopped coming in, and I was disappointed because bro, life was good, everything was good, and I had an Audi A4 convertible, brand new from the
Nice.
showroom, 08 plate,
Nice.
and suddenly my job is gone, and now I've got £500 or so liability on my head.
Damn.
I tried to become a driving instructor to kind of recover from this all. It didn't happen. Like, I passed my driving test for on first attempt, but to become a driving instructor, you have to obviously take another test. And I failed, like, theory, practical. On my third attempt, I still failed.
Jeez. To be a driving instructor.
To be a driving instructor, to keep myself moving.
God was
And then-
like, no, not this one.
No. And then I ended up doing minicabbing at night. Hated it. Hated it with passion. Way before Uber came along. Like, bro, at that time you had to go and pick up, like, you know, people from, you know, streets, and during the night time, you don't know if they're going to pay you or not. There's like, and in fact, my first job, they done a run out. They didn't pay me. I went all the way to Surrey from central London, and it was a £50 or so job. And
That was your first
job, and the only job of the night. And oh my God, it was so disappointing. Anyway,
No wonder you hated it.
I hate it with passion because there's security concern as well. These people are drunk, and you don't know
Yeah.
what they're gonna do, what they're capable of.
Yeah, it's true.
And I was so disappointed, and it was actually a blessing in disguise that me losing my job was Allah's way of saying, you know what, maybe it's time to have a change of environment. And I remember Andy Hook, my supervisor of the catering company. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna open a perfume company one day. And I used to manifest a lot of things at that time. And I was into so many different things. And people would say, "Oh, what business are you doing today?" I had this reputation of being so optimistic, overly optimistic. And then I randomly told the guy, because I used to go into duty free and smell all these perfumes for free.
Nice.
And I used to get exposed to those books as well, like leadership books, how to lead leaders. I used to think, to lead people, you have to be fearful, and you have to be scary. And then obviously later down the line, I realized leading is not about being bossy and telling people horrible things. It's about being inspirational and getting people to act in a certain way without telling them to act in that way. But honestly, that was the best thing that happened from my company. It was a blessing in disguise. If I didn't go from that place, I would have been stuck. I remember from City Airport, I had a job offer in Heathrow Airport. It was an upgrade. I even got my moped and everything. It was a security officer, the back checks and all of that. My manager said, "Look, I'll give you 50p extra per hour.
Yeah, just stay
don't
here."
go. I said, "Okay, fine, cool."
And so the trek to west from east.
I was into aviation, bro. Once it gets in you, it's in you.
It doesn't leave. It's true.
I was happy doing cleaning job as long as I was around planes, around pilots, around the whole airport vibe. Anyway, it was a blessing in disguise, and I think for you as well. Mashallah, look how much I saw on one of your stories you met with Willie Walsh, the head of
IATA.
chief of IAG and IATA, or
all of them. Yeah, so he was CEO of Aer Lingus first, then British Airways, then IAG, and now he's the director of IATA.
Having a voice in those places is amazing. COO of Hamad International Airport. What could you do with these contacts? The possibilities are, mashallah, endless.
Yeah. But you know what I like to do with those contacts? Just get to know them, as people, not as their job title. Because they're just human beings, bro. At the end of the day, they're just human beings.
Yeah.
And I like to get to know the human behind the job title. Do you know why? Because the job title will change. That's the one thing I can guarantee you, is the job title will change. But if you get to know the person, no matter what their new job title is, you still know them.
Yeah.
And that's the best part.
Yeah.
So and an amazing thing about aviation is, had somebody met you when you were cleaning aircraft, right? And they just they just looked at you like, "Oh, you're just the aircraft cleaner."
Most likely, so many people did think that way.
But imagine if somebody met you and they were like, "Nah, he's a sick guy," and they just got to know you as an individual. Look at where you are now, mashallah, bro. So God has plans for people, and you never know what those plans are. So rule number 1, never look at someone's job title. Always just get to know the person.
It's so true, so profound. I was the aircraft cleaner, and I know people quite naturally. Obviously, you've got the airfield ops, they're the gods of the airport. And then you've got the security guys who are quite important.
Yeah.
Even the ground staff, they're still they've got this attitude. And the cleaners are on the bottom of the pecking order.
Yeah. You know who I was talking to yesterday about aircraft cleaners? He was the CEO of Halifax Airport in Canada. He's been the CEO of a few different airports in Canada. He now sits on advisory boards and does lots of different things. He's like, COVID taught us one thing. One of the most important people in the airport was cleaners. That's what COVID taught us.
Subhanallah.
Is that the cleaners, they're the hygiene is critical. And that's when the cleaners of the airport became the cleaners, right?
Yeah.
They are going to keep us safe. They are going to be the gods of, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Because without them, we crumble. And I think it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of perspective. You should never look down upon anyone. It's like when Kennedy went to the space and the NASA Space Center, and he saw somebody cleaning, and he asked the woman, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm helping put a man on the moon." Everyone has a part to play in this puzzle, especially in aviation. No single puzzle piece is less important than anyone else.
Absolutely, and I get so fascinated on how the whole system works, and it works so flawlessly.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it appears to
Yeah.
to the common eyes, and it's amazing. And I think for me, that's what really, because I kept on asking myself, why do I want to be in aviation? Why did I ever want to launch an airline? What drove me to think, you know what, I can do such a thing, or I should want to do such a thing? It's that it's not like fame, it's not this or that. Then I realized, you know, maybe it's the complexity. Maybe it's because I didn't achieve certain things in my life, or the seals or the letters after my name. So maybe I wanted to, you know, do something so complex and tell myself, you know what, I may not have done this, but I can do this. So it's the complexity that really attracted me to aviation, like navigating all the red tapes, and, you know, still staying within the red tapes and still trying to make it happen. And it's a fascinating industry. And that's why I think once people get into it, they can't come out of it.
Very rarely did they ever come out. Very
Literally.
rarely. And when they do come out, Willie Walsh was saying this. He's like, during COVID, a lot of people went to like look after data centers and pharmaceutical companies. And the one thing we learned is those places are boring because they always come back. And it's the same. Most people that leave the aviation industry, at some point, they've done a U-turn and they're back in.
No, it's amazing, and the for me, is as weird and strange as it sounds. Like, you know, when I go to Heathrow Airport, I'm gonna go to Heathrow Airport to pick up my wife today, and you know, the whole smell of burning jet fuel, and to me, it's like the smell of perfume.
Yeah, honestly, that would have been fun. You should have a Sunnah Mosque, a Jet
Right.
A1 edition.
During lockdown, I was so bored out of my skull. I told the perfume companies that we work with, like, is there anything that smells like jet fuel?
Yeah, honestly.
They were so close, but they couldn't achieve the burn effect. You know, once the jet A1 is burnt and then it comes as the fume smell. That's the smell that I wanted, but they turned into kerosene smell.
Fair enough. I mean, even diesel, bro. You know what I mean? The smell. You know, when I was a kid, bro, and I used to like go outside. I used to like go to like when my mom was filling up petrol. I used to like just go and touch like a surface just to get like a drop of diesel on my fingers. And I'd be like, just like sniff it in the back of the car, like.
That's a true engineer at home, man. Like, you know,
just smelling some diesel, you know.
Wow. Did you know that you wanted to be an engineer, or like aerospace or aeronautical
Aerospace,
engineer?
yeah.
Like, what's the difference, or is it the same thing?
It's the same thing, different words. Aeronautical focuses more on the aircraft.
Okay.
Aerospace has an avenue that also looks at satellites and like anything that goes beyond the atmosphere. So that's, I guess, the difference. Is like, does this operate in a vacuum or does this operate only within the atmosphere? Aerospace covers both. Aeronautics tends to stay within the atmosphere.
The aircraft related.
The aircraft related. Yeah, I never knew. I always wanted to be an engineer. Initially, I wanted to be a lawyer, funnily enough. And the reason why I wanted to be a lawyer is because I was really good at back chat. So when somebody would say something to me, I would instantly have a response back, right? Like, you say something and I'd be like, I was like ping pong for me. It was easy. So I thought that's what lawyers do, right? They go to a court of law, the judge says something and they got
they've got a response.
They got a response ready. And I thought that's what it was about. So I was like, say if I want to be a lawyer. Went down 1 week of work experience at a law firm. And I was like, bro, no way am I going to be a lawyer. This is boring. And it was like criminal. I remember I had to go to do during my part of my experience, I went to court and there was a woman on like benefits fraud, and I was just sat there and like in the court case, like watching all this happen, and I'm like, yeah, this ain't me, man. This is not me.
So you're more on the move guy, like, you know, you're always on the move doing stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how I discovered you as well, Mo T, the airport guy.
Yeah.
I think 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
It used to constantly pop on my FYP on TikTok, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" Like, you know, talking about aerodrome and the airports and, you know, all the differences, because he makes it very easy to understand. Because I didn't understand the difference between certain things, and I think one that really, like, you know, really kind of made me like interested, because I love the behind the scenes stuff, how things work behind the scenes. And you know that thing that sucks the bag, and then if you want to
lifts it
pull
up.
the bag
Yeah,
over,
the
and then that one was a really interesting video for me, because it's amazing. Like, people think you put the bag through the baggage belt and that's it, it's on the aircraft, but like the journey it goes through from tray to scanners, it's
to belt,
amazing.
to parking, to then down a slide, then gets put in. Long.
So when I'm arriving, say, from Bangladesh,
Yes.
and I've got some stuff in my bag, maybe I shouldn't have. Who tells who, like, this bag is dodgy, pull it over and speak to that person?
So, it's actually a very interesting. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this.
Broadly speaking, when in some airports, when the bag arrives, they actually, when the bag arrives, it goes through an X-ray machine. So on the X-ray machine, there's somebody who's looking to see what's inside the bag. If they suspect something's inside the bag, they tell the person who's standing next to the belt, that one. What they do is they do something to the bag that indicates and will show. Basically, they'll do something that then means as you walk through the customs area, the customs officers know that bag or that person, they should get pulled over. That's how it works. So it can also sometimes, yes, that's the one I do know. I always wonder though sometimes if, like, internationally they also tell each other, like, oh, by the way, this passenger, when on the way out, we saw that in his bag there was X, Y, and Z. So when they arrive on the other destination, pull them off. I'm not sure if they actually do that internationally, but I do know that local airports, on their way out, if they have a scanner between your bag coming off the plane and getting to you, if they check it, then they will actually put some form of indication so that the customs person knows who to pull over, who not to pull over. You know, every airport that I've visited, like, in outside of the western part of the world, like if you go to, say, Far East or Middle East or even Indian subcontinent airports, when you're going into Heathrow, your bags are not checked at the door.
Mm-hmm.
On the other end, when you're coming back towards this way, it's like there's checks after checks after checks. Like there's like bloody 6 checks in Istanbul airport or something. It's like
Before you're even in.
Before you even get on the plane, there's another check. Why is that? Is it because the British authorities are saying, listen, we want us to be safe, so you're going to do the work, and you're going to do all the checks before they come to our country? Or why is it like this? Why is there more checks on the other end and almost... it seems like 0 checks? You can walk into Heathrow Airport and put a baggage on the belt and nobody knows.
That's a very good question. And it's actually one that I'm not too sure what the answer is to that one. Like, why is there more checks on the other side? I think security concerns in general. Like, I know as in Iraq, when I'm coming back from Iraq, before you even get anywhere near the airport, back in the day, they used to make you put all your bags out, put them in a row, and they used to get a dog to walk up and down, like sniff the bags to make sure there's nothing in there. And then that's like miles away. Then you get closer to the airport and they do it again outside the door. Then you want to get inside the airport, they got a scanner and you're putting the bags on a scanner. Then you want to get through security, they got another scanner, and it's like, come on, bro. Like, and then you want to get into the gate, they got another. Part of me feels like each one of those they check for something different, maybe.
Yeah.
The other part of me feels like it's just it's like the Swiss cheese model. Have you heard of the Swiss cheese model?
No.
So it's a safety model, which basically says, like those cheese slices that have the holes in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So imagine if you had like one slice and it had holes in it, and then you put another slice on top of it and it has holes on it, and then another and another and another and another and another. If you put up enough layers, then the chances are all the holes will be covered. But if you start to remove layers, there's a chance that 2 of these holes might line up, or 3 of these holes might line up, and it might go through. But the chances of 3 holes lining up is slim. The chances of 2 holes lining up is a lot more realistic. So basically, the more layers of safety you add, the less likely there is stuff that can penetrate through the system.
And I guess answering my own question now that you're saying it this way, it's like this country generally, like the borders are quite strict. Like to be in this country, you would have had to go through certain security verification already. So going out of this place, they're like, know that this guy's he can't do much anyway because there's too many vettings already been done. But on the other end, like, the borders are quite, loose. Anyone can be in Bangladesh, anyone can be in India, and there could be anybody from anywhere. And I suppose, coming back this way, if a terrorist wants to do something, they can go the other way and try and come back. And I was watching this film recently on Netflix. It's about this suitcase. Have you watched that?
Oh, is it called? Is it? What's it called? Checked in or something?
Yeah,
Like,
checked in or something.
yeah.
Oh my god, that honestly, like, it kept me on edge. Like, I was like,
It's like the whole movie,
film
right?
is so annoying. Like, it's like I can
The guy keeps
almost
calling,
predict
like,
what's
yeah.
going to happen, but I still want to see what happens. And obviously, there's a bomb in the checked-in bag, and how he compromises the security scanner guy, and it put me on the edge. I love airport films, man. Anything based around, what was the other one with Tom Hanks in it? He lives in the airport or something, and all of that. Captain Sully is another one.
Captain Sully,
legendary. Have you met him?
No, I haven't met Captain
You need to
Sully.
interview this guy, man. Legend.
He does seem like it. I mean, he's probably had enough of press and like being interviewed.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a great example of how to do things safely.
So what's next for the airport guy?
So ultimately, the challenge that I left Heathrow Airport to solve is the skills crisis. So one thing that I haven't really spoken about much is that while I was making all these videos and it was fun and it was great, what I haven't spoken about is that number of people that used to message me saying, bro, like, yo, how do I get a job in aviation? How do I get a job in aviation? And I used to really, really try and help as many of these young people out. Like, I used to stay up till 4 a.m, like, just replying to messages and
Mad.
and like just constantly trying to help this community out as much as I can. Until the point one day, I was sat in a room full of every single young person on the Heathrow Airport engineering team. Apprentices, graduates, interns, all of them were sat in one room. And I asked this room full of young people, I said, who here decided that they want to join the aviation industry because of one of my videos? Who decided it was my videos that made you want to actually come and join this sector? Put your hand up if that's the case. And when I looked out in the room, 53% of the room put their hand up. 53% of a room full of young people said it was TikTok and Instagram videos that made them want to join the aviation sector. Meanwhile, I was hearing the government say, we have an aviation skills crisis. Not enough young people are joining the aviation industry. Oh my God, it's going to be... And I'm thinking to myself, where are you living? Like, my DMs are flooded with young people saying, how do I get into the sector? And you're telling me there's no young people that want to join the aviation industry. Something's not adding up here. And I realized that they're just not using social media. They don't realize that young people are on social media. They're too busy setting up really archaic, old school ways to attract that next generation talent. And I realized that the aviation industry, unless we solve this problem of the skills crisis, is kind of like, Jenga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Imagine Jenga and you keep pulling out pieces. One piece at a time. You keep putting up pieces. What's going to happen eventually?
It's going to fall apart.
Our industry is at a point now where we're pulling out people who are retiring. People are getting old. Engineers, pilots, air traffic controllers, they're getting pulled out and no young people are replacing them. COVID was kind of like a Jenga block where somebody came in and just pushed it to the side. But the next crisis that's happening is a slow burner. More and more people are retiring until one day that last person leaves. And I'm sure it's not going to be that dramatic, but you know what I mean? The straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine that last person that leaves and all of a sudden the whole thing comes crashing down.
Do you know what? Funny you say that, because aviation industry as a whole is not that old, right? Like what?
Yeah.
100 and something years.
Yeah. For civil-wise, yeah.
And the way it's been set up. And yes, those people are retiring. Those people, and within aviation, there's strict limits on how much a pilot can fly, for
Pilots
example,
for sure.
per annum.
Yeah, they've got a deadline. Yeah.
to avoid fatigue and all of that. So yeah, it's quite crazy how this industry works. Like, like you can't just, how in retail, like if someone is good, if they've got the attitude, you can put them on sales floor and they can on their way, they're
Get on with
recruited,
it.
they're hired.
Yeah.
In aviation, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
There's processes that you have to go through. When they hire, say, for example, even cabin crews,
Yeah.
they hire in batches and they filter them. And it's like there's almost a graduation in the end. Like, okay, these people have made it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those people are retiring. Many people are dying, unfortunately. And there's a lot of outward people going.
Yeah.
And less people are coming in. And if
Yeah.
you look at this whole country, what's happening, a lot of us people are growing in numbers. Like, I don't like to use BAME anymore, because that's like self-categorization and self-marginalizing into one corner. People that look like us, obviously, we're not really kind of welcomed in every room. And I think people didn't consider us as an option. Even when I was working in airport, like, obviously, I don't want to say it, but you can feel like, you're not part of the club fully. So I think more and more people like us will come in the scene. Even look at news reporters. Like, it's so funny, so interesting. I follow some of the brothers on Instagram. Like, they're working in ITV, they're working in Channel 4, they're working in BBC, and they're all Asians and they're all Muslims, and they're talking like how a British man talks, like in the full accent, full reporter accent, and he's got a beard, and he visibly looks like a person with iman. So it's amazing how the shift is happening as well.
We have to be a part of that shift, and I think it's our duty to showcase the best of why we're so close to our faith. What does iman actually mean to us in those rooms, and be firm in those conversations as well, and be willing to uphold our own red lines and our barriers in terms of what we do and don't do. Like, I'll never forget, like, when I first joined the baggage team, there was one of the meetings where I sat down with some of the senior management team, and I was teaching them about the Prophet and why they used to call him as-Sadiq al-Amin, like the most trustworthy. And I used to tell them about this concept in Islam called an amana, where if I give you something and it's an amana, what does that mean?
It's a trust.
It's trust. And I trust that in 5 years, if I come back to you and I say, hey, can you give me back my amana? What should you be able to do?
Give it back.
In exactly the same condition, untouched, unscarred, perfect. So every single one of those 200,000 bags traveling through our system that's handed to us is an amana. And that's how I see it when I come to work. When I'm looking around the baggage system, I'm seeing amana. People have trusted us with their, so we need to maintain the system so we can make sure that it's undamaged, untouched, and it arrives to its destination because it's an amana. And when I explained this concept to them, they all kind of looked at me like, that was really interesting. Like, I never thought about that sort of stuff before.
Islam is so broad and so applicable in pretty much in every scenario, be it good or bad. There's always a view Islam has. It's amazing, and mashallah, you've beautifully kind of contextualized the example.
Alhamdulillah.
So, people wanting to come into industry, what do you do? Like, do you go and run seminars or?
So I've actually just started a Discord channel where that's going to be like the hub for like seminars, workshops. There's also, they can do a Discord channel if they prefer digital. But if they actually want to do something in person, I'd highly recommend something called the Fantasy Wings program. It's a program that I help run here in London. It's in London, Birmingham, Manchester, all the hotspots, right, for people like us. So London, Birmingham, Manchester, there's a Fantasy Wings program. Registration opens like soon, really. Like, it's open all year. You can sign up for the waiting list. But it's only like £25 a month, but bro, for only 10 months. So you're paying
What's
about...
the age limit?
So the age limit we do from 13 to 25 in person, but anyone over 25 can join the online virtual session. But this program, over 10 months, you get an in-depth insight into every different pillar of the aviation industry.
No way.
So you get 1 month is all about aircraft maintenance. 1 month is all about piloting. 1 month is about leadership. 1 month is about air traffic control. 1 month you sit down with the regulators. And when I say you have an insight, I mean, we bring an engineer from Virgin Atlantic who's been looking after for example, this year, we brought in the A350 avionics specialist from Virgin Atlantic to host the session. for the young people. Last week, we had British Airways come down with their pilot recruitment team to host a session. Like every month, we bring the people from industry to come and actually host a session for these young people and give them the insights. So that's a really, really amazing program. And then likewise, the digital version of that, I'm starting a Discord channel. It's an online community. Come ask any question you want and we'll help you basically navigate your career through that. And I'm going to do like live streams and bring in guests online and stuff like that, all on Discord.
It's amazing. And honestly, like, you know, our people, they have so much to offer. Like people that look like us visibly.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to draw lines because we are humans. We're all humans. White man is a human as well as I am. Just like a African person, there is no differentiation. And the bonus of hiring people like us is, you know, we're not into drinks. We're not into certain bad things that can effectively impact someone's job. Like if I'm a pilot and if I'm a Muslim, I think I should be more safe as a pilot because I don't have worries of hangovers and, you know, so many different things that a non-Muslim pilot might be concerned about or their organization. So I think I used to think a lot. I used to, you know, play down because I once wanted to become a pilot, and that was during what was it, just after, you know, the September the 11th. And I used to be scared like of sending emails to flight schools. Oh, you know, I want to do this because they're gonna think I want to do something. And then I realized actually, if you flip it, we're actually good people. We've got so many good qualities. We're focused. We're hard workers. So yeah, I think there's a big opportunity for corporates, companies, to really openly look at Asian Muslim communities.
I think they can look at, to be honest with you, I think Asian Muslim community is absolutely, but the same can be said about any community. Like, I think there shouldn't be a barrier for anyone to enter the aviation industry.
Absolutely
and especially like not a self-inflicted barrier where you think, oh, I'm not welcome here.
Yeah.
And that's the critical thing. Like a lot of the work that I do is trying to show people that no matter where you're from, no matter who you are, especially if you like look like me, then maybe you're going to relate to me even more, right?
Yeah.
But I can only inspire by just being myself, right?
Yeah.
And like, if you see a young, bearded Muhammad, Muslim, Arab man who is thriving in the aviation industry, then I don't have to tell you you can thrive in the aviation industry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here showing you
Yeah.
what's possible. And yeah, maybe there's going to be a resistance. Yeah, maybe there's going to be people who are, as you mentioned earlier, like intimidated or you know.
Where you outshine the master.
Where you outshine. And by the way, I have found that even since leaving Heathrow, I've been pulled over to the side by a few very senior people who've told me, you make a lot of like old white men quite nervous. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, they can't speak like you can on stage. And when I go on stage, bro, I perform.
Mashallah.
For me, it's not I don't stand on stage and talk. I stand on stage and I tell stories. I play a movie in the room. Like I get everyone like hooked. Alhamdulillah, Allah's given me like an ability.
Is it an ability, a natural ability?
Yeah, I'm a storyteller, bro. And I love telling really captivating stories.
Mashallah.
So when I get invited to these really dry, dead conferences, and all of a sudden my slot comes on, I kind of just stand on stage. And for the first like 10 seconds, I usually don't say anything. I just stand there. And everyone's looking at me like,
Suspense.
what's going on here? And then when I start, I'm straight deep into a story. And they're thinking, where's this guy going? What's happening here? And then I take them on this whole journey through a story, and then I bring it back to the aviation industry. And when I speak from the heart. And the feedback that I get after one of my conferences that I've done is one of the ladies who was there. I went out for lunch with her, and she's like, Mo, I know quite a lot of. She's a director. Like I know a lot of people who are very intimidated by you because you're young, you're passionate, you're capable, you're articulate, and alhamdulillah, like none of this stuff is me. All of this stuff is my mom and dad's prayers and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessings, and I carry that always. But hopefully, if I can break down these barriers, then the next Muhammad or the next whoever you are, no matter where your background is, if you felt like the aviation industry wasn't welcoming for you, don't worry, I got you. Let me make a seat for you. Come.
Amazing. And on the flip side as well, though, like, one thing about British culture or the way things work here, they're not like, they're quite, they're accommodating. Like,
100%.
they accommodate. They
100%.
do. If it says something, yeah, you're allowed to do something, that means you are allowed to do it. Not like in some countries, like, okay, although it says it here, you can do it, but I don't think you should do it, so I'm not going to let you do it.
I've experienced so much kindness from so many people in this industry, and like people who've opened up doors, actively opened up doors for me that I didn't even know existed, and they're like, "Yo, come, like you're great, come." Like if you're good at what you do,
Yeah. They appreciate
they
that.
appreciate. Of course, there's gonna be a percentage of people that don't.
Even with our own community.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
1,000,000%. Like outshine the masters rule number one in the 48 laws of power, not in one culture or another.
Yeah.
It's the every
It exists
culture,
everywhere.
every
Maybe more so to a certain extent within our community
who knows
than others.
exactly. So I think it would be unfair to say that. Like I have so many amazing people who are allies, and I know sometimes in conversation I may focus on the people who've been less. You know what's amazing?
Like your mentor,
Even-
who was he?
Can I tell you something? Even the guy who said I can't be an aviation ambassador, when I was in his team 2 years before, he unlocked budget for me to go and buy camera equipment to make content. Like he was the biggest supporter. Like truly, that same person that sent me that email that made me resign was the same person who 2-3 years prior was my biggest fan and told me, "Mo, you're a pioneer. You're doing things no one's done before. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep inspiring these young people." Imagine. Like that's where that law number one comes in, where maybe I just got to a point where I just shone a little bit too bright, and maybe I don't know, I can't be in that
It
person's
usually
mind.
happens, man. Like it always happens. Like and the solution to what Robert Greene, the author, says, the solution is, you be good, but don't outshine them. Make them look good.
Make them look good.
Make them look good. Then they are secure in themselves.
Yeah, even
but
a
it's
little
in
mention here or there, it just instantly
Yeah. But what people do, people don't realize, like they think, you know what, my boss is gonna be so happy because they've got such a sick guy in their team. But indirectly, the boss is thinking, shit. If this guy becomes too good, then I'm replaceable. So there's so much.
Yeah.
Has there been a day in your life where you needed motivation, where you were feeling so down?
Always, bro. Always. I think there's no one in this life that is like doesn't need that push every once in a while and doesn't just feel like I'm just here in bed, I can't bother to get up. Like, and trust me, I'm not like the example of somebody who's always motivated or disciplined. I'm not gonna stand here and be like I'm David Goggins. You know what I mean? I'm no David Goggins. Yeah. I'd love to be,
This
but
guy
I
is
ain't.
relentless, man.
You know what I mean? I ain't, bro. Look, like I ain't David Goggins. It ain't hard to tell. You know what I mean?
By
Like
the way, where are you from?
Iraq.
Iraq. Oh,
Yeah.
different.
I'm Iraqi. Yeah, so I'm Iraqi, but like I ain't no David Goggins, that's for sure. So yes, do I need motivation? Absolutely. I'm very lucky because I've decided to put myself in a position where the things that I consider work are the things that I love doing. But still, I still need to now it's got to a point where it's like there's so much work to do, I have no choice but to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's different where you haven't built like this machine that demands your attention. Right? Like now I have like a baby, I have a startup, I'm self-employed, I have a team of people. Like if I don't put in the work, no one's going to put in the work. But at the same time, like I have clients who are waiting for me going, hello, come on, like what's happening? So when you haven't got anything and you haven't started the side hustle and now you're just kind of cushy in a 9 to 5, it becomes a lot harder to get motivation because like you don't even know if this thing's going to work out or not. But 100%, I've felt a lack of motivation. I've had to just sort of grind through it. I've had days where I do nothing. I've had days where I just wake up, start scrolling at 8 a.m. and just waste the whole day just on my phone. And like, it happens. Like if you're watching it, it happens.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? Just self-loathe? Like, yeah, you should be embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I felt ashamed. But what can you do? You pick yourself up the next day and you say, I promise I'm never going to do that again. Set yourself the limits, set yourself the screen times. And I always follow those Instagram accounts, which are like called stop scrolling accounts, where they like start off with like a video, and it's
Yeah.
like, and there's David Goggins going, so you want to be normal, so you want to just live your whole life scrolling on these phones, and you're like, ah, damn it, fine, I'll put my phone down, fine, and you just get up and do stuff. So follow the stop scrolling accounts; they're great.
Yeah. So one of the tricks that I use is I change my FYP to give me what would benefit me. So, for example, if it's business leadership,
Yeah.
then I would try and design the FYP in such a way that it only shows me, even when I'm scrolling, it's still somehow benefiting
Yeah,
me.
but that's I get it, but at the same time, how much can you recall after a day?
Yeah.
There's always like a gem that comes out.
Yeah,
of
you get that
scrolling.
nugget.
Yeah, maybe one a day.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
You have to spend a whole
Yeah.
bunch of time doing
Yeah.
that.
Generally, I'm not a fan of scrolling. I'm more on the long form. I like to watch something that I want to watch, as opposed to just randomly just scrolling. I get inspiration sometimes, like, from TikTok. I have on my phone, but I don't really go on it. Instagram is the one that's my kind of go-to platform to effectively hang around.
Nice.
And then LinkedIn is my, the business side. And WhatsApp is probably gets the most screen time, and it's quite embarrassing to be honest. But
Really?
then again, my phone is a computer as well, so I don't use a laptop very rarely.
Really?
It's iPad to a certain extent, but generally, bro, it's all about communication with me.
Yeah, because you
And,
got just people.
Yeah,
People are
yeah,
doing
yeah.
the doing.
So
You just need
WhatsApp
to
is like is the highest kind of screen
Usage.
time. Yeah,
Wow.
highest usage. What do you do when you feel stuck? A lot of people, young people, might feel stuck. Like,
What do you do when you feel stuck? Go for a walk. Just change scenery. Find people who inspire you. It's a very powerful thing to do, bro. Yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine. He's a poet. And I haven't had a conversation with another creative in a long time. But he's writing a novel and a book, and he's writing this and that. And I find when I'm stuck, changing the people who I'm having conversations with changes everything. Like speaking to different people just opens my mind to like a
Yeah.
whole different way of thinking about the topic. So for me, when I feel stuck, I'm a people person. So, first go for a walk in my mind, like just be in like greenery and nature, go see some rivers or something, yeah. Like if you have a river or a canal nearby
Yeah.
or whatever. But then the other thing that I find really helps me is I have a few people in my contact book who I can give a call. And they get me because they've been where I've been. They're on the same mission I am. They're driven, they're just as hardworking, and their heart's in the right place, more importantly. Most importantly is their heart is in the right place. And I just have a chat with them, bro. That really helps.
it's
You get
so
stuck.
interesting because I do the same as well. Like when I have a friend, his name is Rakib, and not the Abdul Rakib from the Channel 4 documentary. It's another one. And we go for shisha, and most of the time, like, we're just doing our own things. Like, he's doing his on his phone, having shisha, and I'm doing my own thing. And then while we're talking, whenever we do talk, it's like just repeating what you do in your life, just adds a perspective. Oh, that's quite good. Like, I'm doing this good, or I'm doing this bad, and I should change. And just talking to a friend and evaluating what each other is doing is a great way of just bringing back focus and perspective.
Yeah, 100%. And but you have to find those people who you truly
Yeah,
value, and
yeah.
like they're on the same mission that you're on.
Yeah.
Because not everyone's on the same
Yeah. For me,
journey.
luckily, he's a business person as well,
Perfect.
and he's always on the move as well.
Perfect.
So there's a level of kind of similarities.
Perfect. And I think the other thing is it would be it would be injustice not to mention is just try and reconnect back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Subhanallah.
And that doesn't mean like go do 100 rak'ahs or this or that. It can be as simple as lying down on your bed, looking up at the ceiling and just having a chat with Allah. Like, I think Christians do this a lot more than we do.
Yeah.
They've allowed God to be someone who's more accessible.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very healthy thing. Just to be able to have a chit chat
Yeah.
with God the way
Yeah.
that you have a chit chat with your boy. You know what I mean? And like I think some people would look at it and be like, bro, astaghfirullah, no. And I think, nah, bro, get out of here. Like, just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is closer to you than your jugular vein.
Exactly.
Why do you have to only talk to him a certain way? He's with you even when no one's with you.
Yeah.
When no one's with you, he's with you. right? And even when you're not here, he's there,
Yeah.
right? So remove everything and he's still there. Why would you not be able to just talk to him, just have a chat? And I think there's an ayah in the Quran. I think it's an ayah in the Quran or a hadith Qudsi that says, بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنَّ الْقُلُوبِ, which is like, surely with the remembrance of God, the hearts are at peace and the hearts are at ease. So if you're feeling stuck, usually that comes with a level of anxiety,
Yeah.
that comes with a level of frustration, and it comes with a level of just like, like, get me out of here. What you're searching for there is ease and peace. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that surely with Allah's mention will come ease. So why not talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Have you noticed, like, every time you want to read Quran or do Salah, it's like there's a resistance, like, there's a friction that you want to do it, but you want to do it, but you just can't do it.
And it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah. And when you end up doing it and you think, alhamdulillah, like, it feels so good. Like when I'm reciting, I get really creative as well. Like while I'm reciting, I'm thinking about so many different things and so many solutions come because I feel like when you're in conversation with Allah, like that whole channel of, communication opens up and you become so creative and, so focused.
You know what's interesting about what you mentioned there about becoming creative? I was talking to a sheikh the other day and he was talking about like how we aren't the source of anything. So when you think you're being creative, who's being creative? Is it you? Are you the creator? Who's the creator? So what we realize is that you are never the creative. You can be given creativity from the creator. And when you deep that and you realize that nothing actually originates from you. Like if I have a client and my client's like, yo, I want a really creative campaign. And I sit there, I'm like, all right, Saif, I'm gonna try and be creative.
It don't work.
It's not coming from here. It's coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And like that's something that when you realize it, you're like, oh, okay. I didn't even think about that. Like even creativity, that we can sometimes be like, oh yeah, I'm so creative. Even creativity doesn't come from us.
No.
Nothing comes from us. And like when you actually strip away all the layers and you realize that nothing actually comes from us, it opens up a whole new way of thinking about yourself.
We're so weak. Honestly, we're so weak. Like, we brag, we say this, that, like, we're this, we're that. But actually, when you think about it, man, like, we're so brave in one sense. Like, we think, we're going to live forever. And, but generally, we're weak. I mean, insan, what's the meaning of insan? Like, it's mistake or something?
Insan, it comes from the word like forgetfulness, like nisyan, like to forget, basically. Is that insan or is that there's one of the words of like that defines a human being in Arabic that comes from the word like just a forgetful, like just a forgetful being. Yeah, but there are I think the words that in Arabic that point towards human are all about how fragile and like how I wouldn't say insignificant, but like fragile and like the lack of power and the lack of ability is the definition of the words that define a human being in Arabic.
Just a rise of temperature, maybe 2 degrees more than the usual, mate.
And we're done, bro. We can be killed by something that isn't even visible by the human eye. Something you can't even see can kill you. If you have temperature change, you get too hot. If a tiny little bug crawls into your ear, you'll be in pain for years. Like tiny little things can wreck you and like wreck us. And we think that we're this like,
Have you ever doubted yourself, like in your ability, and how did you overcome it?
That's a great question. I doubt myself all the time. Like right now, I'd say one of the biggest things that I'm like I wouldn't say in doubt of, but I'd say I want to level up, but I'm not sure how, is like I want to create like documentaries. I want to like create deep dive, really interesting documentaries about the aviation industry. But like I've never done it before. And like I doubt myself there. It's like, can I do it? Do I need to find like a really good producer or can I do it myself? At times like that, I definitely have doubted myself. I used to, like going backwards, there was times where I became really, really good at giving speeches in front of young people. Young people, bread and butter. Bro, you could put 100,000 young people in a room It will fill up Wembley Stadium full of young people. As long as I'm talking to young people, I'm chilling. Put a couple seniors in the room and make me talk to the seniors, I'm nervous because now these are more critical, they're more critically minded, they're thinkers, right? So they're going to question what you're going to say. At this point, I'd only ever done speeches to young people. And I was doing one a week. Like I'm doing one this school, one that school, one college, one university, bish, bash, bosh. I'm giving out keynotes like it's free. And then I get a message from the Royal Academy of Engineering. And they're like, hey, we've got an event we want you to speak at. I'm like, okay, cool. Usually they invite me to go speak to students. They're like, but this event's a little bit different. I'm like, what do you mean? They go, we've got every single senior lecturer for engineering from the entire UK. They're all going to be in one room and we want you to talk to them and give them a keynote speech.
What was the speech about?
So the speech was about, at that point I was in industry and they were teaching young people who are about to go into industry. I was telling them what they're missing from their syllabus. So I've been brought in as like an industry expert to talk to academia to say what you should add to their syllabus in order to like make it better. I'm thinking, bro, these guys are senior lecturers. They do it for a living. And I've been brought in, I'm 24, 25 years old. And I'm here coming to give a keynote speech to people who are in their 40s. That, I had so much nerves, so much imposter syndrome stepping into that. And just like speaking about that. Because like, who am I? Who am I to do this? And that happens, I find that happens often. And I start to feel it. So the way I feel it is my heart starts beating. Like I actually start to, the days I feel my heart physically beating through my chest is when I know I'm doing something good. Because when my heart is physically beating through my chest, that's when I know I'm doing something that's scary, and that scariness is going to induce growth. The other times I've felt that exact feeling. One was when I was with Willie Walsh, and I was in a room full of journalists. I'm talking like full of journalists. And I'd been invited as like the new media TikTok kind of guy. So I'm sat in this room and Willie Walsh just sat there and his senior vice president or something. And all these journalists are putting their hand up trying to ask him a question. So then I'm like, I want to ask him a question. And as soon as I thought of I want to ask him a question, bro, my heart starts going boop, 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 boop. And I'm like, okay, I'm nervous. So now I know this is a good thing. And I can't leg it from this situation. I have to do this. So the guy who's like picking the next question things, I just lock eyes with him. And then as soon as our eyes lock, I'm like to him. And he goes, safe, you're next. Bro, the moment he goes, you're next, my heart goes, boom, 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 boom. Now I'm like, damn, like I'm nervous. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I start sweating. I start writing down my question. Bro, and I'm like, you know what? This is it. The fact that I'm getting nervous means this is the best thing that's going to happen to me, because that's how you grow. So when he came to me, he asked the question, I was like, clear my throat, grab the microphone, and I just made sure to speak very clearly. Made sure to slow it down. Made sure not like run into it and pace it too much. Like really control my nerves. And by that point, my heart had sort of settled, because what happens is, and this is how I deal with it, when I start to get nervous, I remind myself that the reason I'm getting nervous is because I'm doing something I've never done before. And the reason I'm doing something I've never done before is because I want to be somebody who I'm not today. And in order to become that person, I have to do something I've never done before. So those nerves are the best thing that happens to me. And when I repeat that script to myself every time I get nervous to do something, because it reminds my body that, okay, I'm getting nervous, but this is a good sign. This is an overarching sign. It means I'm growing. And I'm like, safe. And then I go ask. And I asked my question, and the first thing he said is, that's a fantastic question. And then he dived into the answer. And that clip put on LinkedIn went completely viral with like that question and that answer. So alhamdulillah, but that's how I deal with it. I remind myself that it's a good thing.
It's amazing because, mate, I get nervous, in pretty much any public speaking arena, even if it's like leading salah somewhere. And bro, these surahs I read every day, these are my daily surahs, and then I would forget. What the and I don't know how to control it. And sometimes I just avoid leading salah now because in recently I was leading somewhere and it was a family gathering and oh my god, like alam tara, like seriously, and that's the one I read all the time, and it's dangerous. This whole nerve, it physically makes you forget things.
It does, and it can physically derail you. Like it derails you, and then you're squandering. You're like, oh my god, what's
How
going on
do
here?
you avoid this? Is it the same formula that you've mentioned?
So I love the fact that you mentioned like the salah room, because where it all started for me was the salah room. So I used to go to an Islamic school, and I remember the first time my teacher said, "We need someone to do the adhan." Someone volunteered to do the adhan, and everyone was sat there like this, bro, avoiding eye contact. Like no one was gonna do it. And at this point, I had like ambitions of like doing like adhan or nasheeds and stuff. Like at home, I'd be singing in the shower, the usual stuff. Yeah. So I was like, nah, there's no way. And then basically, I was the only one not avoiding eye contact with the teacher. Everyone else was like, you know what I mean? And I was just chilling. And the teacher looks at me and she goes,
Yeah.
"Come up." And I'm like, "Me?" She's like, "Come up." And I'm like, oh. For some reason, I start getting up and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? But by the time I got to there's like a radiator where you stand at the front of the thing. It's like a radiator, bro. And I still remember, man. I the little thing that you twist at the top of the radiator, man. Yeah.
The
little knob, the little
yeah.
knob at the top. I held onto that so tight, yeah, that like I could, like the blood was draining out of my hands.
Way.
My knees were just violently shaking, yeah. Like, and I'm talking like they were shaking so hard that my voice, you could hear it. You could hear my knees shaking in my voice, and I was holding onto this radiator just to try and control the knees from shaking. And now I'm trying to recite adhan, but I'm 15, bro. My voice is like, ah. So my voice starts to break in the middle, and like everyone's giggling now in the back, and my voice is breaking. And bro, I'm just like, whoa, this is terrible. Like, this is terrible.
I hope you didn't forget.
Huh?
Like me.
No, but the thing is, I messed up. Like, I forgot a whole segment. Do you know what I mean? Like, you make these mistakes because like you're nervous. But like, the next day, I woke up and guess what the teacher's like?
Again?
Yeah. And this time, like, there's no way, but I get up and I do it again. But this time, it's a little bit less scary. And third day, a little bit less scary. Fourth day, a little bit less scary. Until I just became the default guy. I became the default guy where every adhan, every session, as soon as I walk in, I don't even sit down. I go straight to the front.
Did you master any of the styles of the adhan?
No, but I just had my own style.
Okay.
I had my own style of doing it. But like, sorry.
You sing nasheeds?
This is the
Can
thing.
you?
The upgrade from after I done the adhan, the teacher's like, "Oh, we got an assembly coming up. Can you sing a nasheed?" So I was like, "All right, safe. I'll do a nasheed."
What did
and then
you
it
sing?
was all sorts of stuff, man. I don't even remember anymore. But I used to like just my favorite ones. I used to just stand up there and sing, and everyone would be clapping in the back. Exactly. The Tala al Badr Alayna one was not. It was interesting because like I remember one of the guys brought a drum into school, and then one of the teachers like, "No, haram, you can't drum." And then I can play the drums like just a little like thing, and then she didn't let us use the drum, so we had to use a bucket instead. So then we achieved
was
the
it
same
like a
result.
proper Islamic school, like a madrasa type? Or?
Islamic school. So it was like Monday to Friday. We learn English, everything, but it was like an Islamic school.
We have so much similarities in our upbringing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you were an introvert in the beginning and then you turned yourself into an extrovert
Something
or
like
what?
that. I mean, I was always extroverted in like private places, but in public spaces, I was very introverted. I could be very nervous because I was very insecure. Very
Yeah, me,
chubby,
same.
fat, insecure kid. Very. Super insecure.
Yeah.
Like just
me.
nervous, blush very quickly. Like,
Bro, I used to hide. Like, you know, that thing you were saying, like, you know, everyone just looking down. You know, so I arrived in this country in 1997, born in Bangladesh. At the age of 11, I came and straight into secondary school, year 7. And then, bro, like, you know, you got everyone that speaks English, everyone that can read English. And then here I am. I just don't want to be called to read anything. And wallahi, like, you know, I don't know, like, you know, now that I'm speaking to you in front of 3 cameras, this is all like, this is not me. This was never supposed to be me, because I was so shy. Like, honestly, I don't know, like, how I'm doing this. So sometimes I get criticized, like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like, if only you knew, like, what I'm fighting. So
The battles run deep, but those are the stories that inspire the next kid. Because I sometimes go back to my old school, and there was one kid in particular. I looked at him, and we'd speak to each other, and I was like to him, you remind me of myself when I was younger. He's proper like insecure, shy, and I was like to him, you see me today, you see me on stages, you see me traveling around the world, speaking in front of CEOs. Like, genuinely, bro, I speak on stages and every other person in the room is a CEO. I spoke at an event earlier this year in Westminster. The person who spoke before me was the Secretary of State. The person who spoke after me was CEO of Heathrow Airport. Earlier that day on the stage, you had CEO of Virgin Atlantic, you had CEO of Gatwick Airport, you had the CEO of like Aberdeen. All C-suite EOs throughout the whole day. And I was the youngest Muslim kid, like guy in the day. I was the only guy from like my background, bearded, all sorts. And when I started that event, I told them that when I was younger, they told me they don't hire Muslims in the aviation industry. And I put up a scene of like the 9/11 crash. And I was like, the incident of 9/11, I put it up on the screen. And I was like, when I was younger, this incident was almost going to crush my dreams and tell me that I can't join this industry. And I'm here to make sure that no other kid gets that dream stripped away from them. And I like told that story in a way that was like super engaging. Like I made the lighting people dim the lights and play music and this and that. Like it was proper like a movie.
immersive, yeah.
Yeah, it was a theater experience, but it was like spoken word. So yeah, like I'm invited to places where every other person that's speaking is a CEO. And I told this kid, like, you remind me of myself when I was younger. And he looked at me, he's like, how? And I'm like, look, the next time you have an opportunity to do something that scares you, take it. Do it. Get scared. I'm telling you, the secret is be willing to be scared. And the more you are willing to be scared, the more likely you'll break out of it and you'll no longer be scared. Then the next thing will scare you. Like for me, speaking in front of senior leaders scared me. Now I speak in front of senior leaders all the time.
I think I need to do more of things that I'm uncomfortable about.
Those salah things that you told me, like you
Yeah.
made forget, next time they offer who wants to do salah, I want you to shake my hand, put your hand up. and say, "I'll do it."
Inshallah.
Yeah? Say, I'll do it. Next time they say, who wants to lead salah? Be like me. Next time. Yeah? Watch.
Inshallah.
Because that's how you break through it. You have to aggressively go for it.
Yeah, inshallah. So let's end. We've spoken about a lot.
Yeah.
Mashallah. I didn't think that we can speak for so long. And it's like, when you're expecting a conversation to happen, an episode to happen, it's like you think, okay, this is going to last about this long. This one, I thought, okay, we're going to wrap it up within an hour.
How long
It's
is it
1 hour,
been?
25 minutes.
Damn.
So alhamdulillah, it's
That's
been a
cool.
very, I knew it was going to be fun. It was going to be interesting because we have similar passions.
Yeah.
But I didn't know our backgrounds were quite similar as well, in terms of the Islamic schools and the fear and the nerves and all of that.
And we both think there's a gap for motivational Islamic
100%.
personal
And
development.
bro, you need to do it. Trust me,
Inshallah,
promise me
man.
you're going to do it. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Soon.
Like,
soon.
yeah,
Inshallah.
I really do think there's a gap there. And
Absolutely.
if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks I'm the right person.
Like, look, not many people like Andrew Tate, but he's more about discipline. It's not about motivation, but it's more about systems and disciplines and just getting on with things that you need to do. And I think we need motivation to start with, because I was inspired by motivation, not discipline. Maybe discipline would have scared me away. But motivation is super important from our angle, from our storytelling side of things, with the Quran and Sunnah, behind it. Best snack to grab at an airport.
The best snack to grab, I'd just go a meal deal, mate.
What, W.H. Smith is it?
I'm a meal deal, yeah. Boots or W.H. Smith, whichever one's closer. Meal deal, like literally prawn mayo, maybe like a Max, whatever they are, you know what I mean? I don't know, sensation sometimes, I don't know. It depends on how I'm feeling, and I have to check which one's boycott and not. Do you know what I mean? But otherwise, choose the crisps, choose the sandwich, and then a bottle of water.
Can't go wrong with it.
Can't go wrong. Can't go
Do you know
wrong.
what's mine? It's that thing from Pret. You know the yogurt thing with the jam underneath it.
Yeah.
With granola on top.
Yeah, with the
I
loaf.
don't know. Like I just love it. It's
Really?
like that gives me the whole traveling vibe.
Fair enough. You're on the plane there, just smashing granola.
Exactly. Window or aisle seat.
Window, no doubt. But my business partner, he's funny. For him, he's like, whatever we get on the tickets, we sit. And sometimes he makes me sit in the middle. I'm like, bro, I want to sit on the window. He's like, ticket says no. So yeah, me and him we go head to head, try and get the window seat first.
Safest spot in the plane to sit on.
That's a very hard one because it just depends on what the incident's gonna be. Like I can't. Allahu alam. You know what? If it's written for you to survive, you will. That's the safest spot in my opinion.
But generally, some people say it's the tail or the back end.
Yeah,
of the
but that's
rear
because
end.
like the recent incident with the South Korea one where they went into the fence. But then other people, like sometimes the plane landed and it's like broken in half. The people over the wing survived. Like I don't think there is a.
If your qadar if it's meant to be.
That's
it's
what I'm
meant to
saying.
be.
If you're meant to survive anything, you will. If you were meant to die, you will. And that's
Yeah.
it. Don't try and just
Don't try and
embrace-
dodge it.
Don't try and dodge it because like have you not seen like there's a story of some guy like he tried to dodge death and like somebody saw in a dream that like, oh my God, I saw that you were gonna get killed here, and so he traveled like hundreds of miles to like this new destination. When he got to the other destination, like the angel of death was like, oh, you know, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, you know, he basically gets killed in the place where he's trying to run away from death. My point is, you can never, you know, outpace death.
One word that would describe your 2025 so far.
2025 so far, blessed.
Alhamdulillah. If you weren't Moti, the airport guy, what would you be doing?
Islamic personal development, speaker, public speaker. That's what I would do. And that's, I think, the next chapter, inshallah.
Inshallah, it needs to happen side by side.
Yeah, it should do. And I think there's only right for it to happen side by side. But yeah, for me, it's how could we tell the world about Islam through the lens of this stuff will make your soul, body and mind the best it's ever been.
Alhamdulillah, Brother Moti, thank you so much. And I would love to continue our conversation offline and you know, maybe meet up for a meal at some point.
Inshallah, man.
In the very near future. Jazakallah
Inshallah.
khair.
I think we're both going to be at Heathrow later today.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Well, I'm going to be there around 4 o'clock-ish, 4:30-ish. So into T4. Love T4. I don't know. I just love that terminal. It's
Really?
just so easy for me.
Usually people don't like T4.
No, I like T4. It's easy to navigate. It's like the whole thing is quite easy. T3 is like, boy, like just too much going
It's
on.
a bit of a...
Yeah, too much going on. And T2, bro, like I'm sorry, like you know, I don't know. T2 is no good for me.
Really? I like T2, man.
Is
It's so
it?
simple, yeah. Because, I mean, when you look
It
at
is
it...
simple. Yeah, you're right. It's simple.
There's two terminals. There's the main one and then there's the satellite one. If you're in the satellite one, you got to walk 15 minutes,
Yeah.
which is fair. But yeah, like I think I look at them from a very different perspective. I'm looking at like the operational efficiency.
Okay,
you know?
So for me, it's T4 from a customer's public-facing point of view.
Fair enough.
It's got all these Middle Eastern airlines as well.
It's true.
yeah.
You must be traveling a lot to the Middle East. if
Yeah,
you're
I
in
love it. I love
T4.
it. I love it. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khairan.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's it for today on Side by Side. I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with Brother Mohammed Taher, also known as Moti, the famous airport guy. Yes, that famous airport guy from TikTok, from Instagram, who talks all things airports and aviation. If you have found any part of our conversation useful, beneficial, please don't be selfish. Share this episode around with your friends, family, colleagues, associates, acquaintances. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel on the platform you are tuned into. It is your subscription that motivates me and the team here at Side by Side to continue episode after episode. And with that said, let's reunite on our next conversation. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.